A lot of times when you make a mistake, it's best to just admit that you've made the mistake. Do your best to correct it if possible and move on. That's what I've decided to do in this instance, and I thought I'd bring you along to show you what it is that I've done and what the remedy is going to be moving forward. And not all errors are created equal. This one happens to not be a type 1 error, so it will be something that I'll be able to correct. However, it's just going to take time and energy that I would rather be spending elsewhere. The beauty of this is that the material that I've put down isn't going to be wasted. In an effort to create additional food production in zone 1 of the property, I've added some additional planting spaces nearest my house. I planted a hugel mound out to the west that I've really been happy with the development of it, and I will continue to mend this over time, and it will continue to break down. The problem is that I've decided to do the same thing over here, which is directly underneath a valley oak tree that drops a tremendous amount of acorns every year right onto the top of this bed. As you can well imagine, the problem with all of those acorns is just the tremendous amount of self-propagation that's going to take place, and it's a workload that I just do not want to deal with managing in the future. Branches that are lining the core of it, that are tightly assembled with dirt going over the top of those, and then layer upon layer of wood chip, compost, wood chip, leaves, other organic material. One of the first things I'm going to do is loosen and open this pile up so that I'll be able to access the heavier material on the inside. And I'm going to utilize my broad fork in order to do that. This was about the time that I realized that I still have a tremendous amount of work ahead of me. But what I've begun to do is to pull the heavier material out of the center of this pile, allow it to dry out throughout the entire summer, and then that material will be used as feedstock to be converted into biochar. A lot of times on the homestead we make mistakes. Those mistakes don't generally wind up on YouTube, but it's a learning lesson for me because it's something that I've learned didn't work and I won't be doing again. Thankfully, it's not an irreversible type of a decision. So over the course of the next week or longer, I will be working on trying to see how far I can get. I'm going to cover it with a tarp, allow it to solarize so nothing grows out of it. Over time, this will break down, worms will come in, other soil life will come in, and this should be a viable source of fertility. Each load has been watered in, and every load I've added coffee grounds in between layers. And if I dig down a little bit, you can see the moisture content in here and what the material looks like. Got a few other ideas on what to do with some of this other material, and I'll take you along with that and show you what those experiments are going to consist of. This tree that you see behind me was here when we bought the property 20 plus years ago. However, at the time it was only about 20 feet tall and 8 dBH. Currently, it's probably pushing 20 dBH and 45 feet tall. So it's grown pretty well. It likes this spot. There's another tree that's a little bit larger, valley oak, right back there. And both of those trees, I wound up putting barriers around them so that the cows wouldn't tear them up, and they flourished. One of the reasons why there's no valley oaks in these pastures is because the cows have been able to nibble on and kill back any of the new growth that comes every year, so consequently we never get anything to grow. I'm going to actually put a little bit of effort into moving these barriers into another location, and I'm going to propagate trees up against the fence line. Let me show you what I'm talking about. Here's that other tree I was talking about, and I've got this cattle panel barrier which I'm going to remove and move to another location. This is all from this year, self-propagated trees. Those typically get grazed off by the cows. Cows haven't been in here this spring, and so here's a tree that I'm going to go ahead and salvage I'm going to move that barrier over to here, and then this tree will be able to flourish in this location. I'm going to come down to about this point and drop some material, and what may happen is those acorns out of that tree may naturally find their way into this pile, or I might assist it a bit by putting in acorns this winter and allowing them to naturally cold stratify and then germinate, and hopefully we can get something started. I put a truckload of material right there, and there's one right there. And there's a natural drainage that runs right in front of that pile, and then there's one that comes right in front of this pile, and they converge right about that location right there. I'll cover these piles with wood chips, and then in the winter I'll go ahead and introduce some acorns to them. They'll just naturally propagate. My hope is that there'll be enough water and moisture retained in this zone that these will just natively do well out here by themselves. It's been about a week since I started removing this material, and this is the last of it right here. And this project was essentially doomed from the start, primarily because of the location underneath this oak tree, but it was also poorly executed, and I could have done a better job. I do feel vindicated having the opportunity to utilize this material elsewhere. Hopefully those projects will go a little bit more successfully, but also just having the opportunity to learn from what I've done and realize it was a mistake and being able to correct it. Hopefully you find some value in this video and realize that not everything that we do here on our farm works out to be amazing. Please consider subscribing to the channel. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video. It's a wrap.